how's it going? Just got off of work. Today's Saturday, and I'm not gonna post this till Monday because, of course, I try to put out a new episode every Monday. So today I want to tell you a story about an incident that happened to me. As some of you know, some of you were actually there. I lived and worked at a resort in Yellowstone back in the late 90s, and there's a lot. I mean, this time in my life, a lot happened. But just to kind of preface the story, I was out. Okay, so actually, let me start from the beginning. So Eric came to me one day and was like, "Hey, my mom's friend." I don't remember exactly. I don't want to misquote the situation, but basically, a situation arose where we had an opportunity to go work in, like, I want to say it was like Lake Tahoe at a resort, and I was super excited about it. I mean, the opportunity was given to him, but he was extending an invite to me to come with him, which was super exciting to me. The idea of it, I was in my early 20s. I had just spent a year in Hawaii, and I was home, and I don't know, it just seemed like a new adventure, and I was super excited. And basically, it never came to fruition, and I was super bummed. So one day, Eric comes to me, and he's like, "Hey, I found another opportunity to go work in Yellowstone." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm good. I don't think I'm going to do that." I was working I was actually working two jobs at that time. I was cooking in a restaurant at night and had another job doing sales during the day. And so I had just started dating a girl who I had known for a long time, and one night I get a phone call from Eric, and he's at the resort, and he's like, "Hey," he's been there for a little while. He's like, "Dude, it's amazing here. I'm in Yellowstone, and they need cooks really bad, and you're a cook. Why don't you come out? It's a really good deal." And at the time, at that exact moment in time, I wasn't really doing anything. I think either the restaurant had just closed or it was getting ready to close. But either way, I was like, "You know what? Screw it. I'm down." And he's like, "Okay, so this is what you have to do. You have to get a Greyhound to, I think it was Salt Lake City or Twin Falls. I don't remember. I was supposed to take a Greyhound to some town. They were gonna pick me up there. And at the last minute, so I start telling people, "Hey, I'm going to Yellowstone." And then at the last minute, I get a call from Todd and Colleen saying they're getting ready to drive to Wyoming. They're going to go visit Rocky and Mike in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and I'm going to basically Jackson Hole, Wyoming, just outside of Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which I've never been to any of these places at this point, so we didn't realize how far apart they were. But they came to me and they're like, "Hey, why don't you come with us and split the gas with us, and you can drive with us, and we'll drop you off on our way to Cheyenne." So I think that's where they're at. I want to say they were in Cheyenne. They were in Casper. That's right. I remember now. They were in Casper, Wyoming. I've never been to Casper, Wyoming, but from what I understand, it's the armpit of the state. So anyways, so we go on this crazy adventure. We hit these gnarly storms. We stopped, and we're like driving in the middle of nowhere through Utah, and like one of the most beautiful scenic places I'd been to. You guys live in Hawaii. But it was super, super beautiful. And all of a sudden, we like come to this clearing, and we're in this little town, and they're having a big festival. Like, we pull over, we get out, we wander around. I'm like in like super baggy jeans that are frayed at the end. I have long hair. My face is scraggly. Colleen's wearing like little shorty shorts, and Todd's got a shaved, like, skinhead looking, situation going on, and we look like a motley crew. we stood out like a sore thumb, and I kept thinking we need to go before the cops come. But anyways, so we ended up not getting harassed. It wasn't too bad. We left. I made the decision to try to avoid Salt Lake City. I felt like we would get harassed, and so we went through Provo, and then we get into Jackson Hole. We basically drove through the night. I want to say we left like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we got to we left at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We got to Yellowstone sometime the next day. We drove through the night and most of the day, and we got there like in the evening the next day. And so I'm super tired. I'm like hallucinating. I've been up all night, all day, and they want me to meet the owners and all this stuff, and I was like kind of uncomfortable. I just wanted to sleep. And I get there, and Eric had made friends with everybody basically, so they're like, Eric's friends here, so everybody's like showing up, coming to the dorm that we were staying in, and anyway, so it was super fun. We had a great first weekend there. We went and saw the waterfall and the hot springs that first weekend before I started work. I want to say Colleen and Todd stayed for a day, but I don't remember, to be honest with you. And then like that, and we partied our butts off that first weekend. So then I start work. They leave to Casper. They come back with Rocky and Mike, and they decide to stay. So they get jobs. And then Todd ends up going back to Phoenix. And then later on, sometime later, came back with Mandy. And so, there's a bunch of us there. And it was super fun. And we had all these like great adventures. There was like an intramural softball league between all the resorts, and we had won all of our games, and like it was like super casual. People like had beers in the outfield on the ground, and one of the teams that didn't show up to the game that we were supposed to play also won all their games, except for the one game they forfeited because they didn't show up when they were supposed to play us, and we ended up playing them in the finals, and they ended up just smoking us. So then we call them and we schedule a rematch, and we go back with just the people that could play, and they smoked us again. And that whole summer we were playing football in the field. And so we called down there and challenged them to a game of football, and they smoked us again. It was brutal. I kept making the joke that we need to call them and schedule a football game but show up with baseball bats. Not really. It was just a joke, but it was just one of those things. And then so anyways, we had a bunch of hikes, a lot of fishing. There's so many stories from when we were there. This is not the specific story or the reason why I'm talking about all this, but just to kind of give you an idea of some of the crazy adventures we went on. There were 2 guys there who I was friends with. One of them was this kid Zach, who was from Phoenix, who I had met from Eric's friends before we went out there, and he just happened to be out there. and there was this kid Rob, and Rob, if I remember correctly, was he was like the backup quarterback at John Hamilton University. He was like in his early 30s. You could tell, he was kind of a pretty boy. Probably grew up in a situation where, he probably had a silver spoon type of situation. So me and Zach and I say his name was Rob? Whatever his name was. So the 3 of us go to this event in town. It was called, I want to say it was the 69 Days to the Ski Lifts Opens party. And it was a big deal. There was one CD store. You guys remember CD stores? The owner was the MC, and I want to say Filibuster, the Skunk Records band, played there, and they had all these contests and all these giveaways and all this stuff. And and Rob and Zach were both trying to pick up on the same girl. And like Zach had made like a little flower out of a napkin and gave it to the girl, and then like 10 minutes later we seen a glass of like a half drinking beer with that little flower in it, and it was a weird situation where I think the shots were upstairs and the beer was downstairs. So Rob and I go up to the upstairs. We buy shots, and as we're coming down, he catches eye contact with that girl, and she's on the dance floor. And he like stops traffic, and he's like kind of pacing back and forth, and he tells me, "Okay, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna do something. Follow my lead." So we go down the stairs. We go into the middle of the dance floor. It's double tiered, so there's a balcony. And him and her, they start talking. They're chit-chatting. She like waves and says, looks over, waves. I wave back. They continue to talk. I have no idea what they're saying. I can't hear them. There's a band playing and everybody's dancing. I'm in the middle of the dance floor, and I'm double-fisted. And then all of a sudden, she like grabs his hand, and they run off to the stage. And I'm just sitting there. So now I'm by myself, so I just start dancing. And there was a little native girl that I was trying to pick up on there that day, ironically. And Rob tells, so the owner of the CD store, who's the MC in between songs, stops the music and says, Rich, come up here. Rich, where you at? Come up here. And I'm like looking around, like the crowd parts, and everybody's like looking at me. I'm like, holy crap, he's talking about me. So I run up there and I jump up on stage, and he's like, everybody, guess what? Rich is getting married tomorrow. And I'm just laughing. I don't even know what to say. I have no idea what's going on. Apparently, Rob told the girl that he was my stepbrother and we were there for my wedding, and that was my bachelor party. That was his story. That was his follow my lead. I don't know why he had to involve me in his crazy schemes, but the crazy thing about it was all night people were buying me drinks all night. They were like, I had full reign of the place. The problem was that was only CDs. The owner, the MC was the owner of the CDs, the only CD store in town. So I couldn't go back and buy CDs anymore because he'd be like, dude, I thought you were getting married. What the hell happened? So anyways, we have this amazing night. The little Indian girl was super peeved at me. We leave. We're on our way back. It's middle of the night, and Rob's got to pee. Zach's driving. Zach pulls over. Rob gets out to pee, and the next car that rolls up on us is the Rangers, and we get pulled over. Zach goes to jail. Rob goes to jail, and they have me walk to the nearest resort, which was like 2 miles, and I had been drinking all night, and I'm in the middle of Yellowstone. We're in bear country. It's the end of the season. The place is getting ready to close down for the winter, and the bears are fattening up for winter, and I'm a little nervous, to say the least. So I'm jogging. I'm singing Sublime at the top of my lungs, because they tell you when you're rolling through Yellowstone, when you're on foot, to say, yo bear, because that if you don't startle them, they won't attack you, supposedly. So the deal is supposed to be, if you're coming on foot through the forest and you're making a lot of noise, they'll hear you and they'll wander off, and most of the time you won't even know that they were there. But if you come around the corner and they're in the middle of something and you startle them, they will definitely attack you. So I'm jogging and I'm singing and I'm trying to get to the resort, and I get there and it's like almost morning, and that guy from that resort calls my resort, the night watchman, and then he says, okay, we're going to send somebody to come get him. And then they finally send somebody to come get me, and they take me, they say they woke up my boss, and really, I'm going to freak out. Somebody's parked in my parking spot. So anyways, I lost my train of thought. I'm so upset. So basically, They wake up my boss, tell him that I'm what's going on. He tells them to bring me straight to him and not to take me to my dorm. So when I pull into the resort, I get taken straight to his place or straight to all the bosses had their own little living quarters, and then we all lived in dorms. And so he's like, you have to be at work in an hour. Means you have to be at work in an hour. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to make it. He's like, no, you don't understand. Those two guys are supposed to work. Now I have to work. I have to put my waiter's outfit on and wait tables because those guys didn't come home. I'm not going to be there, and you have to work because I can't do both. And so I go back to my dorm and I go to sleep, and he comes and bangs on my door, and I go to work, and I worked all day, and he was super peeved at me all day, and it was rough. But anyway, so the whole point of all this is most everybody's gone at this point. It's the end of the season, and there's a fire tower at the highest point. It's an 8-mile hike to the fire tower straight uphill. And because it's 8 miles and because it's straight uphill, it's a long hike. It's a long hike. And so Zach and I, it's the end of the season. It's getting cold. There's already snow on the ground in the higher elevations. And neither Zach nor I had been there. So we decided we're going to go. And we left super late in the day. I don't remember what time we left, but I mean, I think I worked my shift first. So it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe even later. I don't remember. And so we didn't take any food. We took we both took a bottle of vodka and a half gallon of orange juice and a bottle of water, and a sleeping bag. And supposedly when we got up there was supposed to be food in the fire tower and running water. And they told me that there was running water, but I don't know what I was thinking, because how are you gonna get water to the highest peak in the valley, in the area? So anyways, so we head out late in the day. We're trucking. Zach's pace is way faster than mine is, and it's starting to get dark, and he's like, listen, I'm gonna go ahead and you just keep going, and when I get there, I'm gonna find it, and then I'm gonna wait for you. And I'm like, cool. And so all we knew is you stay on the trail, and eventually you'll get to a sign that says fire tower and has an arrow pointing to it. You can see it from that sign. So it gets dark, and now I'm walking for hours. No Zach. And I'm like trudging down this trail, winter time, super late in the season. Bears are fattening themselves for winter, and I think I had bear spray on me. So I just keep pushing along. A couple times I contemplate turning around and going back. And finally, I get to a point where I come up to the top of this hill, and I get to the top, and the other side goes down, and then it basically curves back up. And in the center of our trail, there's a lump on the path, and then it curves back up. It's kind of like an indentation in the top of the hill. And I start yelling, "Yo, bear!" I'm making a lot of noise, and nothing. The lump's not moving. So finally, I'm like, okay, I got to go down there. I slowly make my way down. Oh, I had a hatchet. That's right. I had a throwing hatchet, and I had a bear spray. I'm pretty sure I had bear spray. So, anyways, I get down there, and it's Zach's pack and his jacket. And that's why I start yelling, Zach, nothing. No Zach, no nothing. I see the sign. It says fire tower that way, but you can't see the fire. You can't see anything. It's pitch black out. You can't see anything. And I'm freezing, and there's snow on the ground. And so I'm like, okay, I need a fire. So I got a hatchet. I drop my pack. I go out, look for down wood. I start chopping wood, making noise, carry it back. I find some rocks. I build a circle. I build a fire. The problem is it's cold up there, and there's not a lot of wood, and the wood that I did find was burning really quick. So I'm just every so often I'm having to leave and go get wood and come back, and leave with wood and come back, and I'm making as much noise as I can. And hours go by. I mean, like hours and hours go by. I don't know how many hours because I didn't have a watch. I don't think I had a watch. I just know I've been there for a long time, and I'm trying to make noise, and I'm too scared to drink. I'm basically, my orange juice is gone, my water's gone, and all I have left is a bottle of vodka. But I was not about to drink under those circumstances. Um, and so I end up after a little while, I start hearing noise in the brush, and I start yelling, Zach, and then Zach starts yelling, Rich. I'm like, no way, Zach, Rich. And he runs up, and it turns out Zach wandered off into the forest and got lost. And then he sat down under a tree, but he was freezing too bad because he didn't have a jacket, so he got up and wandered more, and he realized the more he wanders, the more likely he is to get even more lost than he is. He's not even on a trail at this point. He's just wandering through the forest. And eventually, he was so cold he had to get up and move. So he got up and moved, and then eventually we ran into each other. He was super stoked, had a fire going. So now we're taking turns getting wood. We end up breaking out our sleeping bags, and we sleep right there on the trail. The next morning, it turns out the trail was mud, and we had the fire right in the middle, and he was in one mud puddle and I was in the other mud puddle, and so everything was just soaked and muddy. We end up and then of course when the sun came up, you can see there's the fire tower right there. It was like a situation where there's a sheer cliff and it was on top of the cliff, and so you just had to walk up the hill and find the cliff, but neither one of us knew that. But then you had to backtrack around the cliff to get up to the top. Pack everything up, get to the fire tower. We ate something. There was no water, and then there's like a little book you could sign. We kind of just scoped out the scene for a little bit, and then we made the trek home. And I want to say that even coming downhill, I mean, the sun probably came up. It's October at that point, so the sun probably came up at like 6:30. We were. We went up there, hung out for a little bit. We probably were back on the road, heading back around 8:30, 9 o'clock, the very latest. And I want to say that we didn't get back to the resort till like 4 o'clock. That's how long that hike was coming down the hill, not even including going up the hill. I mean, like it was ridiculous. You should have never left that late. But anyways, it was super hairy, and we got back, and man, I was so beat up. I basically, I want to say, I think I slept for the next couple of days after that. That was like towards the end of the season. And then, as some of you guys know, I ended up, I bought a 15-passenger van from one of the workers there, and I drove it to Billings, Montana, and a girl that I worked with at the resort and one of our friends basically drove from Billings, Montana to Seattle, Washington. We started having car problems. We kept breaking down, throwing the belts, and so I want to say Tacoma we broke down. I know Portland or in Seattle we broke down. We're there for like 10 days. Tacoma we broke down. We were there for a couple of days, and then eventually we finally broke down in Portland. I ended up staying at Johnny Wright's house. That's when I met Johnny, and basically Todd and Rocky and Mike and that whole crew were all there in Portland, and Dusty happened to be in Eugene for some odd reason, and so I want to say Todd drove down to Eugene, picked up Dusty, brought him back to Portland, and me and Dusty and Eric Wright Greyhound home. We started getting close to LA, and I had ran out of money. My van broke down. I ran into the dirt. I ended up having to call my mom to wire me money to get home. I think I left the resort with like $2,000, and I spent all the money trying to get my van fixed and all this stuff. And then just traveling. I was on the road for like 30 days. And I left in October. At Halloween, we were in Portland, and I was home by Thanksgiving, I want to say. But anyway, so we're getting close to LA, and I can't get a hold of my dad. I'm calling. We're both calling it. Can't get a hold of my dad, so we get a hold of my Auntie Vicky in LA, and we make a plan because we have nobody to pick us up. But Eric has his mom's gonna pick him up, but Ruth couldn't pick all three of us up with all of our stuff. We had too much stuff, and so we make a plan that Eric's going to pick us up. He's going to continue on by himself, go to Phoenix. Me and Dusty are going to pick up Auntie Vicky, spend a couple days at her house, and then we'll come back, and then we'll jump on the bus and head home. We did never get a hold of my dad. We ended up staying at, I don't remember where we stayed. I know we were at Auntie Vicky's house part of that time. I think, I don't know. Maybe we just stayed at Auntie Vicky's house. I don't know. But anyways, so we never did get a hold of my dad. Eventually, we couldn't get a hold of Eric either. And we're getting to the point where we're overstaying our welcome. So Auntie Vicky took us to the Greyhound on our way to work, and it was like 5 o'clock in the morning, and our bus didn't leave till like 8. So we were the first ones in line. We get there. The police show up as we're getting ready to board, and they end up putting my ex-wife on the bus first, and then they put me and Dusty on the bus because we're the rest of us on the bus, but we're 2 and 3 because we had been in line all morning. And that's how I met Sinclair and Little Richie's mom on that Greyhound on my way back from Yellowstone, which was pretty funny. So that should be a lesson to all of you. Don't ride the Greyhound. No, I'm just joking. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the story. Stay prayed up.